Good morning, students. Today we start with the chapter The Three Orders, and let's start right away. In this chapter, we shall learn about the socio-economic and political changes which occurred in Western Europe between 9th and 16th centuries. After the fall of the Roman Empire, many groups of Germanic people from the Eastern and Central Europe occupied regions of Italy, Spain, and France, and in the absence of any unifying political force, military conflict was frequent, and the need to gather resources to protect one's land became very important. Social organization was therefore centered on the control of land. Its features were derived from both the imperial Roman traditions and the German customs. Christianity, the official religion of the Roman Empire from the 4th century onwards, survived the collapse of Rome and gradually spread to Central and Northern Europe. The Church also became a major landholder and political power in Europe. The three orders, the focus of this chapter, are three social categories: Christian priests, land owning nobles, and peasants. The changing relationships between these three groups was an important factor in shaping European history for several centuries. Students, it is obvious that when a huge empire, whether it's a Greek empire or the Roman Empire or the Mughal or the Ottoman Empire, Russian, whatever, when huge empires get liquidated, when they get diluted, it is obvious that there is no strong central authority anymore, and in absence of a strong central authority, the other regions which otherwise had been in that sphere of influence, all of them start going their own separate ways, because now there is nothing and no one to hold them. So different small groups come up, and then they start taking their different geographies into different directions. There is a great amount of fragmentation actually that happens, and this is what this paragraph is trying to tell you, that after the Roman Empire was gone, of course Christianity survived, but a lot of things and a lot of other things did not, and that is the reason why there was a fragmentation and a different kind of political structure and a political hierarchy took place after that. Because if you remember, when we were studying about Rome and the Roman Empire and the Roman emperors, there was nothing called clergy that we had studied. We were basically talking about the Senate and the emperor and the aristocracy, but we didn't study anything the power of the clergy or the power of the religious class. We did not, because there wasn't much. But by 9th century and 10th century, the church had become very important and influential. So now, because it had become a very important power player and a political player in the European society, so now the equation was, or the whole equation would be between, and the whole interaction would be between now the nobles, the aristocracy, that is, which was always there even during the Roman times. The peasants, of course, again, it was always there even during the Roman times. But yes, now the church, the Christian priests would also be very decisive power. Now, over the last 100 years, Roman historians have done detailed work on the history of the region and even of the individual villages, and this was possible because the medieval period, there is a lot of material in the form of documents, details of land ownership, prices, and legal cases. For example, churches kept records of birth, marriages, and deaths, which have made it possible to understand the structure of families and of the population. The inscription in churches give information about traders' association and songs and stories, and give a sense of festivals and community activities. All these can be used by historians to understand economic and social life and changes over a long period, like increase in population, or over a short period, like peasant revolts. Students, this was, that is, the church maintaining records of the people, your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother, the children, their children, all these kind of records, the land records, who owned what, who was rich, who was not rich, who got married to whom, all of that was maintained by the church. All those records were maintained by the church. And you have to understand, students, that the religious institutions have always been in all the cultures and all the societies. If you talk about even Indian culture and Indian society, for thousands of years, the local priest and the local temples would be maintaining a great amount of records of people different. Of course, the state would be doing it. Definitely, the Raja and his administration would be maintaining all those records. But even the local priests and the temples used to maintain those records, and and especially in India, where we have this Varna system, where the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas and the Shudras and uh, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas and all of that. Now, just any of us, if any of us, if a Vaishya tries to pass out as that, yes, I'm a Brahmin, immediately he would get caught. Why would he get caught? Why do you think he would get caught? The moment he starts, because he would be asked, "What is the name of your father?" And then he would say, "That's the name of my father." And then he would be asked, "Your name, your grandfather's name, and then the village you come from." And it would be just after third or fourth question that you would be immediately caught. That immediately the people who maintain those records, they would immediately tell you that, yes, you are lying, you are bluffing. And this is what happens, because why do you think a Brahmin, or if a Brahmin wants to pass off, of course he would never want to, because he Brahmin happens to be the top in the social hierarchy. But even if a Brahmin says, "I am a Vaishya," or "I am a Kshatriya," for that matter, he would be immediately caught. His bluff would be immediately blown away, because the moment the local priests and the people who maintain the records, I'm not talking about the state here, I'm talking about the local priests and the temples, the moment they ask you a few questions and you get caught. Why? Because they have all the records, they maintain and they have maintained it meticulously. They would ask you the names, the grandfather, the father, your gotra, your mother's name, and the village or the town she came from, and then you're gone, you're caught. And this is a role which have always been played by uh, the churches and the temples and the religious clergy in all the societies, not just in European society, even in India. You'd be surprised to know, students, that even in Kerala, if you go and tell them, sitting in Uttarakhand, I'm saying, if you go to Kerala and if you tell them, this is the name of my father, this is the village I'm coming from, say probably Dhanolti or Chamba or wherever you're coming from, and even there are certain temples in Kerala who would be having even your records, even though you are sitting in Uttarakhand right now. So that is what I'm talking about, and this is a role, not that something which is very unique to Indian society, just because all the old ancient civilizations, whether it is the European or Indian or anyone, they used to maintain those records because they would understand, students, they would understand that uh, the uh, the kingdoms, the empires, they come and go. If you have a very powerful ruler, definitely everything is going smoothly. But the moment you have a ruler who happens to be weak and inept and not very efficient, and then everything falls apart, then the records would be gone. Because why? Because some neighboring country or the kingdom or the ruler would attack you, occupy you, everything would be gone, the records gone, the land records gone, everything would be gone. So the clergy, the religious institutions, because normally the attacking kings and the rulers would spare the churches, would spare the temples, would spare the priests, would spare the pujaris. They would not be butchered, right? And so the records used to be very safe with them. I hope you got the point. So of the many guys, this last paragraph is important, which refers to, yes, of the many scholars in France who have worked on feudalism, one of the earliest was Bloch. Marc Bloch, that is in 19th century, that is was one of the group of 19th and 20th century, of course, was one of the group of scholars who argued that history consisted of much more than just political history, international relations, and the lives of great people. So he started new. He gave a new thought to the historians that for us history is about the great rulers, Ashoka ne ye kiya, Chandragupta Maurya ne wo kiya, and that kind of thing. But then he was the one who, for the first time, he emphasized the importance of geography in shaping human history and the need to understand the collective behavior or attitudes of group of people. Guys, why do you think today India and China are at loggerheads and we are just waiting to take on each other? The reason for that is geography. India cannot avoid China, China cannot avoid us. China feels that India is standing in its way of development and reaching the Arabian Sea, so it wants to get rid of India or at least have that trading route. Why is it so? It's only because of geography, right? Because and geography is such a thing which you cannot change. Do you think Pakistan today wants Pakistan doesn't like India, India doesn't like Pakistan? So today, do you think Pakistan, if Pakistan wants, it can today say that yes, we are moving ourselves to close to become the neighboring country of Argentina in South America because we don't want to live with India. Do you think that is possible? No, it's impossible, impossible, and that is the reason why we continue to have our regular conflicts with Pakistan all the time, every time. We always are in some kind of conflict or the other. Why? It is because of geography, and this is what Mark Bloch emphasized, that it is history is not just about the rulers and Raja Akbar ne ye kiya or Rana Pratap ji ne ye kiya wo kiya. No, it is a great deal to also do with geography. Bloch's feudal society is about European, particularly French society between 900 and 1300, described in remarkable detail about the social relations and the hierarchical land management and the popular culture of the period. His career was cut short tragically when he was shot by the Nazis in the Second World War when they had occupied France. Okay, an introduction to feudalism. That is something which we would start tomorrow. Thank you.